When I awoke, at first I thought I was blind. Everything seemed fuzzy and unclear. I rubbed my eyes, but to no avail. I looked towards my rough hands and could see them clearly. I knew then there was nothing wrong with my eyes. I stood up uneasily. I had slept rough on the streets. I had no home, no fixed abode. I suppose you could say I was a tramp, a traveller, a wanderer. Whichever verbiage best fitted, that was me. I took another look around me and noticed that the reason things were not clear to me was that a fog or smoke was shrouding the city. At first I thought there must have been some major fire somewhere in one of the important buildings nearby. But I looked to the ground to see the earth charged, and there was a smell about the earth. I couldn't recognize it. It seemed alien to my sense. The whole environment seemed queer, unsettling. I started walking and noticed the sound my feet made on the now gravel-like ground. Maybe it was ash from a building. The other thing in time I noticed was a sense of confusion within my mind. I would pick up weird smells from my childhood and memories of burning fires and other such weird things. White flashes would come across me like a bright light in the eyes. It was as if the wires in my mind were being triggered or altered in some ways. Maybe I thought at the time it was the smoke I was breathing in was altering my blood count and causing disturbances in my frontal lobes, much like morphine and other such drugs can do. I placed my hands out in front to warn myself of objects coming my way, but there was nothing. A sense of fear came across me. For as someone who had wandered these streets, they had become like a man and his home. I knew every corner, every little crevice, and yet this landscape now seemed alien to me. Where were all the obstacles that should be in my way? And it was then, as I reached the end of the fog, high up I could see down upon the city. There was nothing to be seen. Nothing. Where had all the buildings gone? The trees? Everything was gone. The whole city was shrouded in some kind of fog. As I looked across, I could see other cities with their lights in the distance and hear the noises of cars and trains and the horn of a boat. Everything as far as my eye could see seemed normal except for the city I had just come out of. I looked back again at my city to try and see if I could spot any more people like myself, but there was none to be seen. What had happened there? Again I felt a shot in my head like lightning, and tears began to roll down my face. What was happening to me? All these emotions I was experiencing, but for why? It was as if I entertained that I had indeed knowledge of what had happened, but that it was deep within the recesses of my mind, like a long-forgotten dream or nightmare, perhaps. It was strange, for the first time in my short life, I felt afraid, alone. I found this an odd feeling to be felt by someone such as me, who was a man who had no one all his life, who wandered the streets. More often than not, I had been abused. People would cry out at me, "Get away from me, tramp," or such words, and yet then I was surrounded by life which rejected me, which would never ask of my help, and now I found myself alone and afraid. And yet, what was I afraid of? As I looked down upon the city, I received yet more images inside my head. I could clearly make out some shapes, but they were unclear to me. I could not entertain what they were, but they seemed manlike and yet not. They had about them an almost menacing shape, taller, wider, and less curved, straight and blunt, dark in texture. I could only see that of darkness, no light about them. Each time I tried to get my mind to focus closer, a white flash would streak across my brain, causing me immense pain. What were they trying to tell me? Or was it them that had made this city disappear, whilst the rest of the world carried on about its duties? I knew that I should walk out from my city and to the city that seemed alive still. Maybe I thought I could get help, but to whom would help be needed for? It was only I that seemed to be alive there. And I had to find what had happened, what was trapped within my mind, what had happened to this now dead city.